Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Justin, and David, who's working across from me, but he probably won't be, like, actually involved. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, right? We're halfway through. We're almost to the weekend. How's everybody this morning? Here, we'll just start mixing paint while we talk. How about that? David has informed me that I have to fix Monique's face because he doesn't like one of the shadows, so we're going to fix it. So let's see. Troll. I used some troll in there. I'm going to need all of my skin tones, and then we're going to do probably eyeballs today. Yes, it is a Wednesday. Hey, Planer. Good to see you. Oh, let's see here. So, troll flesh. And I was using actually rosy skin, I think, because I liked it a little better. And Drow Nipple Pink, everybody's perennial favorite. Where do we put it? I've stuffed it somewhere. There it is. Probably won't need it because I'm just going to adjust that shadow there. But you never know. You never know. So David doesn't like this harsh shadow right here. He thinks it shouldn't be there. So we're going to adjust it. Just so I don't have to listen to him anymore. And we're going to give her eyes. It's just so I don't have to listen to it anymore. Right? No. It's actually time. I think it's time. Like, I think red eyes, too. I'm really thinking it. So, let's see here. Now we'll get our white out. So our skin tone colors, for those who forgot, are crazy, crazy skin tone colors. Albeit we added white to both of these. Yeah, Estrogen, I do. I tend to do it. It drives some of my friends crazy. And my boyfriend. I feel like once the eyes are in, the model is finished, and I tend to lose the urge to, like, work on it, because for the longest time, it was just like, that was the finishing touch, was to do the eyes for me. So because I did that for so many years, it's really hard to get away from it now. It's a little bit different with Bus, because I kind of started doing eyes relatively earlier on Bus. But with 28mm, it's always been like my last thing is to add in the personality of the model, so it didn't stare at me reproachfully from the shelf, saying, why am I not done yet? Because, you know, that's a real thing. But yeah, Esther, I do tend to do eyes last, like, otherwise. I know a lot of people do eyes first, but I'm like, Hello, Jazzy. Hello, hello, hello. Hello to everyone. Let's see here. All right. And then we need reds because we need to do the eyeballs. So I think we were working with Heraldic and Fire. Yeah, pretty sure that's what we were working with. And Asmodeus, but I don't, well, I probably need that for the outline. So where is my Asmodeus? There it is. So our reds. Our red triad, our impromptu red triad, which is not actually a red triad, but easily could be, would be those. And it's kind of a wonky red triad too, because each red uses slightly different pigments, which is not what I usually do, but red is weird. What can I say? Yeah, see, the minis can't stare at me if I don't let them have eyes. Shadow Raven completely gets it. Why doesn't everybody get this? I don't get it. Hello, Bob and Julie. Good morning. Whites, see, muses, that's what David thinks. He finds my eyes with the whites, like, creepy. Creepy. And I'm okay with it. But then I find things creepy that he does not. So, you know, it's all fair. For instance, my latest creepy trigger, which is kind of weird, is that Felicia Day show. What is it called again, David?
The Guild.
The Guild. Because since we're playing WoW and have been playing WoW since Shadowlands came out, he decided that I should watch it because, you know, it's WoW. It's about a WoW guild, and it's a horribly dysfunctional WoW guild, as many WoW guilds are. But oh my gosh, I was so creeped out in the first few episodes. I was just like, because yeah, maybe it's too close to life. I don't know. See, Carrie, the minute he touches her, the minute he gets into her house and touches her, I freaked. Like, I can't. Like, I need to take a break. I'll go back to it, but I need to take a break. I don't know what it was about that really got me, but it was not creeping out in a fun way. Let's just say that. Maybe it was just too late at night for me to be watching that show. Yeah, see? Did it trigger you too? See, I don't know. Maybe it's just my experiences in the past have I was like, no. Nope, we have to stop watching this right now. So maybe I'm just weird, because a lot of you like The Guild, but... And I love Felicia Day. Like, I was super happy when she got into the new Mystery Science Theater, although I haven't had time to watch it very much. But yeah, so... I don't know, muses. I'm very sensitive about my minis, so... I guess I'm too sensitive to them and their demands. I always try to be in tune with my miniatures because I think it results in a better paint job. So David had to leave. Sadly, we no longer have a David in the room. He has left for a meeting. His job has claimed him. Boo jobs. Yeah, right. Yes. Oh, I can't watch Twilight. Oh, no. No way. Like, not only is it a terrible... Like, it's just a terrible example to set for young girls. Oh, it's just bad. I just can't. Like, there's some young adult fiction that I feel really sets a bad precedent for young girls on how to act in relationships and just in life. And that's one of them. So... Yeah, and maybe it's because I was very passive when I was a kid, believe it or not. Now I'm, like, aggressive. Like, I always joke that I was passive-aggressive in, like, post-college, and I just decided that to drop the passive, it wasn't worth it, so now I'm just aggressive. But, yeah, I didn't, Cookie. Like, because, you know what? There are so much better things I could be reading. Oh, yeah. That when you read it as a self-defense measure so that you can show them, hey, but be aware, you might think this is a great story, but what is it teaching you? What is this character doing here? She's not standing up for herself, is she? No. Yeah. Like, we need more of that. Yeah, so essentially, yeah, when that ruined the guild for me, like, out the gate, like, because I'm like, oh, if there's more of this, I'm not in for it. I'm not. Like, I'll give it a chance because I want her to have a good character arc, and, you know, I can see what they're setting up in the story, so, you know, good, but, man, I don't know what it was that night. It was a few nights ago. And it upset me so much I couldn't get to sleep afterwards. Like, that's the silly Anness, you know. Right, and there's a couple other, like, popular kind of young adult novels that I also feel, for the same reasons, like, it's like, the person who wrote it because it was a story that, you know, was in tune with them, but it's also maybe, and apparently it resonates with other people, with young kids, too, and so it's like, it worries me sometimes. Because I was one of those super passive females, and it did not serve me well. That's an understatement. So, yeah, it's just weird that way. I mean, cred to you if you like the stories. Like, you can still tell a good story and just, like, have it be just, ugh. I mean, that's true of almost all books. I mean, I look back on some of the early science fiction stuff that I read when I was a teenager that's, like, so hyper masculine. Like, and all the women don't have real personalities. And I'm like, what did I like about this? But, you know. Oh, the guild? No, it's not scary, John David. But if you're a female who has had certain experiences with the opposite sex, it is triggering. Because it's creepy guy, you know, guildy who you only flirted lightly with online, and this is why flirting can backfire, who then essentially stalks her, finds her house, introduces himself, is in love with her, and wants a real relationship, and she's freaking out. And at one point, he actually touches her face and, you know, goes to give her a hug when she's not into it. And for women like me, that's a huge trigger. Like, that was just, like innately, like, just wanted to, like, separate myself from that show. Yeah, is it triggering to men as well? I wondered about that, Lady Cadence, because I can't speak to that, right? I mean, it's meant to be funny, John David. But if you are not, you know, like... It's meant to be funny, and a lot of people find it as funny, but cringy, right? Cringy, funny in a cringy way. Sometimes cringy goes too far, and for me, that was too far. Yeah, it's just right, exactly. So you have this like bad, and it depends on what level you react, depends on kind of probably your experiences, right? But for me, it was too much. It was too much. I'm not afraid to say that I'm a wimp that way. Yeah, super weak heroine. Yeah, exactly, Cookie. Exactly. And you know what? I'm hoping she gets a better character arc. I'm hoping she gets stronger, because I don't think Felicia Day is a bad actor, and I hope they wouldn't set it up to just continually be bad, but... Oh, as far as Twilight. Sorry. Well, yeah, so you have a more, you know, sympathetic view toward it than, like, I would, right? That makes sense. Shadow Raven. Like, and that's why this sort of thing, you know, it reacts differently to different people. No reaction is bad, but for me it was very, very, very bad. Yeah. Otherwise, there are parts of the show that are hilarious. The problem is it's too close to home. I do love the GM, or the Guildmaster. He's pretty awesome. So there are other basic... Yeah, essentially, it's like, if you are not, like... Well, and this gets into the whole thing of online relationships, right? Online relationships. Where you have somebody who's just, like, getting a little too into you that you don't really know, and you have no idea. Or maybe you do, and then you are like, whoa, you know. It's the creepy guy on the internet thing, right? Or the creepy girl on the internet. It goes both ways. Like, especially, see this, because I follow... esports, right? I'm an Overwatch League fan, and I have seen women, you know, just like getting obsessed with, you know, the guys who are on the talent team. And I'm sure it goes the other way too for the girls who are on the talent team, you know, and for the players, right? Because these girls get super into the players. So it's not like it's both sexes behaving badly in relationships, really. All right, so essentially I wiped out that shadow right under the eye. David didn't think it should be there, so I decided that he was right. The reason I put it in the first place is because there was, like, the bridge of the nose usually will cast a shadow. Oh, let me get in focus. Sorry, guys. Babbling about stuff and not in focus. Quindy's like, change the topic. Yeah, it's all cool. But anyway, so normally there would be a shadow across the bridge of the nose here. For the nose would cast a bit of a shadow, but David thought it was too much. So I agree with him. Usually, when you're going to put highlights on a face, the area right under the eye is your primary highlight thing. So let's talk about shows that are good examples for people. Like, what's a great show you guys have been watching recently? How about that? Like, is there anything out there? David just finished watching The Crown, which does take liberties with actual history, but is a cool show. I kind of half watched it along with him. It was very long, and he binge watched it. Hey, Grey Wolf, thanks for that resub. 4 months. Awesome. The Barbarian and the Troll is good, Green Users? Time Team. That sounds good. I love archaeology. What is it? Is it like nonfiction or fiction, Quindy? I'm gonna make Chibi. I'm gonna make a note. See. Dave and I are always looking for stuff to watch, and we tend to like food shows, but I really like shows that are like, I have to find this thing between history and other things. Oh, it's puppets. Interesting. Well, I do like British shows. So does David, so we'll have to see. Trying to like just lighten up this shadow a little bit under her brow so she isn't quite so. Since we have our skin tones mixed, we may as well do some adjustments. So I'm going to take out this really dark shadow next to her nose. But as I was saying earlier, if you look at the face, the front of the face, where the light tends to fall, it's the forehead and like the top of this cheekbone shouldn't be dark. The highlight should go right up Sometimes you suggest a lower lid, but on chibis there is none. Like, their faces are sunken in there. Yeah, I've heard the blacklist is good. Plainer. So I'm going to kind of come in and just lighten up, bring the nose up a little bit, even though... And this can be the problem with chibi faces. It's like, she is sculpted with a super deep divot there. But if you accentuate that, it looks a little bit too deep. I was finding it a little bit too much so. So, Broadchurch, okay. Ah, Death in Paradise. That sounds promising. Yeah, I probably won't watch Hannibal. I'm a wimp. I am very much a wimp. I like happy shows. That's why I tend to go to nonfiction. Okay, so Death in Paradise again. So that's 2 then. 2 for Death in Paradise. Let's write that one down too. I don't know if David likes mysteries. I don't think he ever really was into them. There. Alright, so we're going to lighten this up because I feel like it was a little bit too pronounced. So I've essentially done... layered in a little bit of my my green here, which is troll flesh plus white. Troll hide, sorry. Trolls have hides. Oh yeah, David Attenborough, Netflix, what's it called? Oh, you're talking about Broadchurch, okay. Ah. Alrighty. So yeah, so essentially I've decided that this was a little bit too harsh for her face, especially for a female. I mean, yeah, she's a vampire, so, you know, going with some dramatic shadow, like on the side here, that's okay. But in general, you don't want to over-accentuate it, or she's going to look like just she's got, like, big bruises around her eyes. Yeah, The Expanse, yep. High Score Girl is a cute anime. I think David is not into anime. We do love food shows. We watched the first episodes of The Chef Show, and that was fun. And I learned something I didn't know, which is that everybody stops too early when they're creaming their sugar into their butter. I started doing it for longer and got good results. Like, I never knew that before that bakery chef was like, hey, this is why we do this. I had just always creamed the sugar and butter together until it looked light and fluffy, and then I stopped, and it really didn't take long. And then she's like, nope, let it run. Let it run for 2 minutes. I'm like, whoa, isn't that over whipping? And she's like, no, it makes your baked goods lighter and fluffier. And I'm like, oh. The problem with Top Chef, John David, is that we live by those restaurants. So we can just go into the city and go to Tartine. Like, those are restaurants that we can actually go to, and that's dangerous. Alrighty. So there we go. So you see how I've de-emphasized? I brought this shadow up so it's a little lighter. She still has a furrow in her brow, but she's a little less, like, she's a little more human looking now. I do feel, I just want a little bit more light there, though. Now that I've started, I'm, like, doing adjustments. Oh, Shadow Spawn, yeah, that's... I've seen a few episodes of House. But I had a friend who was, like, so into it, like, he wanted to be House, and that was a little off-putting. Like when you have that friend who wants to introduce you to their new favorite show so much that even though it's a good show, you feel like you just don't like it as much because they're sitting there staring at you, wanting you to love it like they do. Like, that's a thing. I actually had somebody pretty much ruin Firefly for me on that. So note to self, guys, yeah, when you really are into a show, just recommend it. Don't freak out and stare at your friends hoping that they will adore it and endlessly telling them all of the backstory they don't know yet. Don't do that. kind of off-putting. Yep. And you know, I'm already not that into Westerns, Crows, so it fell flat on me. But yeah, so usually if I really like a show, I just give it kind of a, yeah, I really enjoyed that show. And then I stop because of my experience with people who are just way too into their TV. So I'm going to correct her lip a little bit here. While I've got all these colors out, this is a time to tune and correct like the shape of the upper lip if I wanted it to be a little more Cupid's bow. Tighten it up. But in the book, yeah, I agree. And I'm one of the people who usually thinks the books are better than the movies. But even so, I don't like... I consider a movie or TV version of a book to be a separate, almost like a spin-off. Like, that's just the mental attitude I have toward it, because it's going to be different. It's like somebody else's vision of the story, right? So I never get offended if I expect such things to be different from the book. There we go. So highlighting the under the eyes a little bit better. Yeah, inspired by is a better thing, right? Well, he does have several, like, kind of... He has good snide and kind of understated humor moments in the show, Kuriko. At least I've seen it, but... Alrighty. So we've got a little bit of a shadow there. I don't think that's the right place for purple, though. So yeah, little corrections. Like, it's never... faces are never a bad place to spend extra time, guys. I know some people get just scared of painting faces, and so they just kind of try to rush through them, get something they like decently, and they're done. But faces usually do reward tuning, and... Chibis are kind of a bigger example of that because the face is so large, right? This is the focal point of a chibi. And so if you rush through this and you don't spend some time like making it the best it can be, like you're shortchanging yourself. Like, because this is like, that's the point of doing a chibi, right? Is this big face with the huge eyes and the hair. So shadow and bone. Oh yeah, I didn't realize they made a TV series out of it, John. I have the first book. I liked it a lot. Well, and you construct a book, like the things that you do to write a good book are different than the things you would do to create a good movie or show, right? Because you have tools. It's just like how miniature painting is different than like other visual media, right? Like there are things like Rhonda's article on things you can't do in miniature painting or things that don't work as well. It's the same with translating a book to a movie, right? Because you can't do internal dialogue unless you set the movie up to do that, right? There are some movies that have used internal dialogue and it's part of, and TV shows, but it's like part of the show. Like you have to spin the show as that from the beginning. So things like that are harder to do. And a movie, you know, can give you the visual information, like setting a scene, almost instantly. Whereas a book, you have to spend some time. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Blackadder, very, very, very old. I mean, I was watching that after college. Yeah. It's funny. I watched a lot of British humor growing up. My dad liked it. So... And a lot of British, like, Doctor Who and stuff. Alright, so I've thinned these paints down, and that means that I can essentially put them on top of each other and create a very good blend with them. Just an idea, if you look at how little you can see the paint, I mixed this paint up, and it was all the way up here to the top when I was swooshing it around. Notice that it's, like, almost perfectly see-through here on the sides where it's dried. And that's a layering consistency. Yeah, Faulty Towers. I saw a little bit. I wasn't really into it, Planer. Yeah, Valandar. That's a good example of how they adapted that, right? Because it's always more engaging. It's engaging to have a character have internal dialogue, but it's even more engaging to have a character relating to a separate entity. So we humans are always more interested in back and forth. So, but again, you're down to right, you're down to like everybody's got a different vision, right? Shadow Spawn, so the director's vision just didn't match your vision, you know, of the character. Well, and sometimes I think they do make a decision based on an A-list actor, but maybe not like awesome for the role. Yeah, I am not a Tom Hanks fan in general, but it didn't ruin it, but I wasn't like, you know, there's definitely like, as you say, sometimes the vision of the director nails it in your head and sometimes they just don't. All right, I am to the point where I am trying to tune other things now, although I probably should work on the other skin parts just a little bit. Oh, double subiversary, double subiversary, double subiversary, double subiversary. Happy double subiversary, Jedi Jared. 2 years of watching me? Oh, I wouldn't ask anybody to do that. It's a double subiversary. Yeah, you have to set it up to do that, right, Shadow Raven? That's something, like, you set viewer expectations in, like, the first episode. So if you don't set up the Wonder Years with that internal dialogue from the first, then it doesn't work. You gotta sing. Yes, you do. Subiversaries and double subiversaries. And eventually triple subiversaries. Although that's not nearly as fun to say as double subiversary. And quintuple subiversary is right out. Like, I can't make that fifth syllable count. Well, yeah. See, you've been out Planer, so you haven't seen me do the sing before, but I do the sing for subiversaries and double subiversaries. 20 months, Twisted Oma. All right, let me get in here. I realized I don't have much of my shadow color here on the hands, so I'm going to put a little bit of the purple in here. The drow nipple pink, rather. Let's be... So just a little bit. Sometimes this happens where I get to like the end of a stream and there's still finishing work and tuning that I would do, but it's a done stream, and then by the time of the next stream, I don't have the colors mixed up anymore, so the amount of work that I would normally do on a figure just gets glossed over, and I don't ever push it that way. But now we have remixed. I have remixed my beginning colors, so I am able to do it. So this is tuning that I would normally do on all my figures, but yeah, on stream figures, it often doesn't get done. There, we got that hand to pop out a little bit more now. There we go. And I'm coming up and just putting a little bit of extra shadow up here on the chest. Maybe do a little bit of extra blending there. Again, all things that I would normally do. But that, so really what you guys get a lot of the time, just to give you an FYI, like I talk sometimes about how my competition work or higher level work is different from the stuff that I like with like Reaper Gallery level or whatever else, is that with my own work or with my competition level work, that gets this extra level of tuning. So that's what makes a high-end model take so long to paint, is the fact that you're gonna get stuff down and you're pretty happy with it, but then you're gonna, on a very high-end model, you would spend more time doing this sort of thing, where you are tuning it and making sure that it really does look like the best you can make it look. Maybe you're adding a little bit of extra highlight, or you realize you didn't do a very good blend, or you add a little bit of a different color in your shadows. You're essentially just, you can make it better, right? It's like, oh, are you hearing David from, he's actually in the other room. So if you can hear him, he's talking very loudly. He's probably in a meeting. Then a little bit of a highlight there to really bring that out. There. Now we got the little hand over here, which is still up against some, just bones material, so it's hard to see contrast or color against it. It's not even patience, Shadow Spawn. Like, it's not. I enjoy this. Like, people always think it's a trial to do this. Try it sometime. This is the most fun part of the figure for me. The tuning is the most fun thing as far as what I do on miniatures. I enjoy it more than anything else on the miniature. So there is no patience. This is what I prefer to do. Everything else is just to get the mini to that point so that I can fine tune. Because with fine tuning, I get to get like micro and I get to like make it look better. If I'm dissatisfied with anything, I get to fix it. Like, I love the final stages and the extra time. And that's what you gotta reach for if you want to, like, get really good, is learn to love the process. Like, for me, base coating and setting up the figure is the most boring part. Like putting the first layers of highlights and shadows on. I'm just like, okay. But when it gets down to this part, when it gets down to tightening it, fixing it, adjusting it, popping it, like making it really, really, everything that I wanted it to be, that I have endless energy for, or almost. So it's really not about patience. I think it's only about patience if you hate it. Or if you don't, you're not enjoying yourself. Then it's a slog. But people say that a lot to me. I hear that a lot. I hear that I don't have the patience for this. Well, if you don't, try just having fun with it. Like, figure out, like, what level of fun you have. And maybe you just don't like it. Maybe like I do. That's fine. But it isn't always just about patience. Like, spending extra time on a thing, patience is like a word that, I don't know. It, like, because I'm so involved and I'm so excited about it, it just doesn't come in. Yeah. Yeah, it's the Zen part. You're right, Big Apple. It's less patience and more involvement. Like, really sinking into the model and really, like, asking it, like, what do you really want to be? How do I have to make you even better? Like, how do we fulfill your potential, little mini? Maybe it is Zen. So yeah, I just like the little adjustments. I enjoy them. Without them, I would be sad. Like, if I have to use patience on a model where I'm just kind of doing it even though I don't enjoy it, then something's wrong with the mini, and I better fix it. There we go. All right, I'm going to darken this handle here. Just use a dark color for it. Oh, good, Shadow Spawn. Cool. Yeah, sometimes that can be frustrating. Like, when you see you missed a spot, you're just like, oh noes. But usually those are just such small adjustments, and they don't take too much time. And they help train your eye, right? So there, blacking in that handle, or in this case, walnutting in that handle, makes that thumb stand out there a bit better. Makes the skin stand out a bit better. I need to... there's a mold line there. That's what I'm looking at. So there is a thumb, but there's a mold line. And that mold line got accidentally painted. So we are going to unpaint it. Or paint over it, as the case may be. I'm like, what is going on there? It's because I was expecting the thumb to be super thin, but it's a chibi thumb, so it's thick. It's fat. It's a fat chibi thumb. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's a part of mini painting that people, you know, you yourself will be drawn to, and it'll be slightly different from your friends. And some people really love painting skin. Some people really love freehand. Some people really love doing metals. Some people love doing fine details and tuning, and that's me. But whatever you love, that makes it, like, it's not about patience anymore, because you're just like, yeah, this is the part I love. Snow! Scotland, you're so weird! I mean, I know, because I visited Scotland in the spring, so I do understand. Although we were lucky enough not to get snow, we did get a lot of very cold rain. There we go. Highlight. Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating for me too, Shadow Spawn. If I can't figure out what's going on. Like, we had to kind of go look at the one model we were looking at. Was it the Orc? I think it was the Orc. Or the Lizette. No, it was Lizette. To kind of try to figure out. Or maybe it was... yeah, it was the Orc. There's been a couple of models like that lately. And sometimes you're just like... and sometimes it's just that it's really fine detail, and maybe it didn't translate in the sculpt that great. Or there's, like, stylistic choices, like a shaped belt buckle that just doesn't immediately say belt buckle to you when you see it, right? So, yeah. Alrighty. So let's see here. I do see a little bit of flash that I missed on this handle. Gonna come in and kind of grab it out of there. We're gonna try to. That's the only problem with this being like Real Bones and not Bones USA. It's a little bit harder to get some of these mold lines off. Sorry for being off camera, guys, but I need to get a good angle. Hold on. I'll be right back with you. There we go. It's a little bit better. I need to get the bottom edge. That one I can do. Just little bits of plastic that are still kind of hanging around from my initial cleaning. There, that's cleaner. Hey, War Shadow. Yeah, I understand. It is work time for a great many people this time of day. Uh-oh. I didn't quite get that little bit of plastic off. That's okay. We're fighting with bits of excess plastic on our Bones Mini today. Today is just like adjustment and correction day on this model. Hopefully that took care of it. Alrighty. Yeah. I like winter in Arizona, Evangelista. My parents spend the winters in Arizona and half of the fall and half of the spring. I really enjoy visiting them in like January and February because the weather's just so nice. It's a nice break if you're from colder climates. Alrighty. So now eyeballs. Let's do eyeballs. I said we were going to do eyeballs, so we'll do them. Haha. Yeah, I was just, it just snowed in April in Wisconsin as well, where I grew up, and there was one year where I was working for Six Flags and it snowed in May and shut the park down. So we'll see if this is going to be a dark enough rim on these eyes. These eyes are huge, so you can do so much with them. But I might want something a little darker. We'll see. So I'm mixing up some Asmodeus Red, which is a darker red. It's kind of the base on the armor here. And we're going to see. Now, since these eyes are so huge, it is going to make the red look pretty vibrant. Alligators. Fun, Quindy. I'm happy that the weather's getting hotter, but then my powers wax during the longer days of the year. I have a friend who far prefers winter, and so he always jokes that my powers begin to wax after the shorter days of the year and his start to wane. But then I was born on the longest day of the year, so... That's true. You can handle bug lips. A gator should be no problem. All right. I think that this eyebrow actually goes down a little bit more into here. In which case I need to bring this one down also. Once again, adjustments. There. Hey, that gator would have to balance on its tail to bite your face off. It's more likely to bite your kneecaps off. That sounds more like a bug lips thing. Alrighty, so let's just start with placing eyeballs. So she's pointing the sword off this way and her head is slightly turned. But first I'm going to do a dot in the middle and I'm going to start up at the top. And then we're going to enlarge this area. But you want to get your placement. Like, it's just like doing any eyeball. I do this on much smaller models as well. First, you want to get your placement. Then you start enlarging the eyeball. You have plenty of room to enlarge. Extend it toward the bottom of the lid to get more realistic. I have to ask myself, I probably need a little bit more toward the front here. This one needs a little bit more to the side. And as you enlarge these eyeballs, you can move them. Like, if this one is pointed a little bit too far off that way, then when you enlarge it, don't touch that other edge. Instead, widen the edge that's closer to the center so that you can get a more consistent eyeball direction. Morning, Val. Gators are wusses, crocodiles are much scarier. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not messing with wildlife is generally a very wise decision, I think, Quindy. Especially now that we're, like, encroaching out of their habitats so much. Also, since I have my white open, if at any point I make my eye too... If I make my eye too big, I can always narrow it down. So I'm going to make them big, though, because I still have to put, like, a pupil and everything in here. They're going to look huge because they're chibi eyes. And I think, and then I'm going to adjust the size a little bit as well. Like, I'll decide, like, that one's a little bit too big. So I'm going to correct it. But because these eyes are huge, you can make a lot of mistakes with them. It's, just go slow and be willing to correct. Like, leaving a little bit of space on the bottom and putting your iris and pupil more toward the top is generally a good idea. Tiny bit of space on the bottom. But it depends, right? Sometimes you want the eye to not show that space on the bottom. But usually that'll be if the eyes are squinting a little bit. And she is kind of like, you know, got her brows drawn together, so you could go that way. So yeah, always have your white open as well, or your off-white, whatever you used to do the eyes, so that you can trim things back. You don't want your eyeballs to get completely out of control. So because those eyes are so big, that's why this red is looking so bright. With tiny eyes, it's much harder. And really for 28mm, I always tell people it's really not like... You can't do a real good job doing colored irises on a 28mm eye unless you artificially make the eye larger. So I like the shape. I like the direction. Ha! Quindy, you're funny. Apparently bug lips overrode your wild animal signal. Which is funny. I guess that goblins aren't really wildlife? I don't know. So I'm just going to refine the shape of the eye a little bit. Make sure that it's nice and round. Make sure that I like the direction. For the most part I do. I might want this eye a little bit more toward the middle. At this point, if you want to scooch the eyes, you can enlarge it more toward where you want it facing, but then you might need to trim up this side. And also, the eyes are so bulbous on chibis, it can be weird. Like, they can look like they... Look, she looks like she's looking that way, and now she looks like she's looking that way. Works for me. That's because the eyes are so bulbous. All right, so now let's add in some lighter reds. You could do the pupils and then try to highlight the iris, but sometimes it makes sense to more highlight the iris and then work on the pupils. So I'm going to do a bit of heraldic and a bit of fire. And you could also underpaint parts of this with white if you wanted to. Like, again, like I did on the armor, if you want to bring out details or sharp edges, then underpainting is a very good strategy. If you more want to blend, then underpainting, not as good of a strategy. So I'm going to put just a little water into this, and I'm going to see how much definition and how much pop I can get just from layering this red. This is about half heraldic and half fire. You can see that it is about 1 step different on the scale of light and dark, the grayscale, our grayscaleometer. And we're really not going to get a lot of definition. Just putting down this first layer, I'm like, yeah, if I want this to be a lot brighter, I'm going to have to underpaint. I'm leaving the dark red in a rim around the outside of the eye, just like our eyes tend to have, our irises tend to have a dark rim around the outside. Not everybody does, but a lot of eyes do, so that can give you a more realistic looking eye. The other thing I could do if I wanted to is take some of my walnut and mix it into my Asmodeus and add a dark rim around the eye if I wanted to. Walnut plus Asmodeus actually makes a real pretty, really dark red. So if I felt like I needed more definition, or if I need to also crisp up the outside outline of the eye, and I can also use that as a shadow up on top of the eye. See the difference? See how this eye looks a lot more defined with that dark rim around it and the shadow up top? So let's do that to the other eye since I like it. There we go. Oh, cool, Shadow Spawn. I hope you like it. Like, there's a lot of stuff. So I hope that at least some of it is useful to you. Thank you for joining. I do really appreciate it. Chibi eye is your favorite part. Yeah, doing the line around it, it does, right? And then if I want even more light toward the center, I can take some of this white and mix it into this fire red stuff and kind of go... Try to bring it up even more. Hold on. Let me grab. I've lost a lot of my white. And if you want to do like the kind of striations in the iris, like, and you can do that on huge eyes, that's when I think you do the underpainting and you bring in some of that detail. You do that. Just make some little lines going out from the middle of the eye. Don't worry, you're going to cover up some of this with the pupil. But if you do a little bit of underpainting and then glaze your red over it, or paint your red over the top, your fire red plus heraldic, you can get, just like with the armor, you can get a brighter, more detailed look. Depending on how thick your paint is, my fire red might be a little bit thick, but then your red pops a bit more. Yes, join the Discord by all means. You can chat with us all. I need to get on there. I've got a lot to do today. I need to start working on my paint along videos, so I may be absent from the Discord for a bit. End of the month is always really busy for me. So once you've got the irises set up more or less to your taste, yes, that would be the Reaper Discord for sure. You want to join the Reaper Discord? Absolutely. So once you've got that set up, then you do your pupil. And your pupil, again, you're going to go up to the top and you're going to kind of eyeball, a spot midway between the right and left side of your iris. And then you're just going to very gently and slowly expand it. So you don't have to sweat it out. You just go slowly. You can use black for this. I tend to use walnut. Really, as long as it's a near black color, you're pretty good. The sharper and more pinpointy your pupils, the more aggressive or alert your character is going to look. The wider the pupil, the more like just kind of sleepy-eyed or benevolent or less aggressive, passive the character is going to look. I'm going to bring the pupil down, though it does need to be in the middle of the eye. Oh, almost up to 3,000 people. Thank you for the mention. I was going to mention it at the end of the stream, but I'll mention it now. I do have a Patreon. It is patreon.com/paintingbig. I am inches away from launching my new special offer, which is a Sky Earth NMM PDF that I've been working really hard on. And that'll be for $10 tier. So if you up your tier for a month, you get it. Or if you join at that level, you get it. If you're already a $10 or higher tier member, then you it's just bonus content for you. Because you're already, like, super supporting me. And I appreciate it. More than I can say. You enable me to do this, to be full-time producing paint content. Alrighty, so got some pupils in there, but I still feel like I need a little bit of lighter red at the bottom of the eye. Eyes sometimes act like gemstones because they are translucent, so light entering the top will kind of pool at the bottom of the eye, or appear, that would be the appearance of pooling like a gem. So I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to add in a little bit of white. Just curl it kind of around the pupil. Then I'm going to paint my red over it to really, really accentuate that look in the eye. And if I accidentally cover up a little bit of my pupil like I did there, it's not a big deal. Yes. And Planer has shouted out my personal Twitch as well, which is again painting big over on Twitch TV, twitch.tv. We do Thursday streams. Thank you everybody for the shout outs. All of these things help Anne do the thing. Hey, and I'm about to like put more stuff up on my YouTube too, so I'll mention that tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get to it today. So I've got that kind of mapped in there in little white crescents, right? So now take our brighter red. I'm going to actually drop just a little bit more water into it. And then we're going to stretch, because it's stretch time. Thumb, wrist, and forearm. Thought it was arthritis. Is it repetitive stress disorder, Pendrake? Are you doing something that you do regularly? Or do you sleep on it funny? Yes, it's only Wednesday, Shadow Raven. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow. Kind of into the Templar right now. So I'm going to paint this red over that white, and it's going to make the eyes show up a bit brighter. See, underneath the pupil? Well, it's good if it's not arthritis, right, Pendrake? I hope. So, and we can even go in with a little bit of pink if we want to make that a little bit lighter. You could keep going. It depends on how much pop you want in the eyes. With the chibi, you want a lot of pop. So adding like lighter highlights to the bottom of the iris is a pretty good way to do that. And then the other thing we want to do is we want to put highlights, right? Eye spot highlights. These are, the catch lights are hard on small models, but they're super easy on chibis. Because chibis have such huge eyes. But you do want to place the catch lights at the same point in both eyes. So like if I do one like right there, I want to do it in kind of the same kind of off-center way over here. And these are a bit big, so I'm probably going to tune them. Real chibi eyes do them triangular. If you're trying to do a cartoon effect, then you do want to do the highlights a different shape. But I like to do them just more natural because that's the way I roll. So, but yeah, if you got to ask yourself, am I painting the chibi as if she's in a cartoon, or am I trying to paint her a little bit more realistically, as if she was in an anime or a better quality anime? Without quite so much stylized. This is stylized versus realistic. And it depends also on how you're treating the rest of the figure. But I've done pretty realistic highlights on her otherwise. So I'm going to go in and just adjust that highlight just a little bit. Oh, yikes. Yeah, repetitive then, huh? Sorry about that, Pendrake. Hey, but at least you know what it is now. Like, that's just so relieving. When you've got an issue and you just can't pinpoint why you have it. So, I'm glad that you figured it out. Now you can work with it. So there. So I'm going to actually adjust again. I want to adjust the inner edge of this eye. It's a little wobbly. Notice nobody does perfect circles out the gate. Like, just adjust. Adjusting is so unstressful. Just go slow. There we go. And now we have bright ruby red little weasel eyes. Ah. So I like those eyes, actually. Those look pretty cool. And once again, she's looking both directions because boobly eyes, like really, really rounded eyes. But that's pretty good. I like her, actually. All right, stretch time. Let's put the mini away. Step away from the mini, Anne. And here, we'll put her down there so she can stare at you. And get up and do some stretches. Yeah, the nice thing about chibis is you can do anything, right? Like things that you couldn't normally get away with on models that are smaller. You could do like pink eyes or a pale teal. Because chibi eyes are so big, you can do lighter colors and make them look good. So that's one of the nice things about chibis. And monsters, for that matter. You know, monsters usually have bigger eyes as well. At least anything like, well, like the Sphinx. Although the ogre, not so much. We are moving through this model pretty darn fast, guys. Like, for all, who was it yesterday who said I take too long to paint a model? I think whoever you were, if you're on stream right now, remember that I'm only painting each of these once every 5 days, or once every 6 days. And if you actually add up the time, it's, probably, well, it's probably between 8 and 12 hours, just like it normally is, depending on the complexity of the figure. But yeah, find a character. I mean, orcs, you could do red eyes on orcs or vampires or anything like more evil. Or where it makes sense. You can make red eyes on your green dragons. Your chibi dragons. I'm sure they're out there. Yeah, that's true. I'm going to do my cat cows. And stretch. Sweet. Alrighty, stretching done. Oh, cool. Chibi Sphinx. Oh, yeah. Yeah, mold lines can be that way. You know what, guys? I'm going to run up for a quick bio. It'll just take a second. I'll be right back. So stare at those eyes. I'm back. Sorry, y'all. I had way too much hydration this morning, apparently. Sometimes it hits you like that. Chibi Sphinx would be cute. I'm sure somebody does one. Remember to hydrate. Yeah, Impact does. If I would be shocked if Impact didn't have a Chibi Sphinx. Yeah, I was gonna say they're the ones. They're the ones who did my Egyptian stuff. So, alrighty. Well, the nice advantage of having mixed up the red for the eyes is that now we can attack the shield, which we had totally missed doing previously because I forgot that the shield was going to be red because I'm silly that way. Yeah, when the bones material is a little harder, it's a little easier to remove those lines. So, seconding what Quindy said. So there is a little bit of a rim around the shield. I think I'm gonna... It might be just an artifact of the sculpt, but I'm gonna embrace it because there does seem to be a little bit. So I'm gonna do a dark line right around the outer edge. Then I can paint that gold and kind of frame, use it as a frame. There we go. Yeah, and that fits because there's actually gold on the inside rim, so I'm going to do gold on the outside as well. So let's get this up and fill that in. There we go. Excellent. Oh, it's adorable. There's an adorable chibi sphinx. I'll have to check it out. Though I should paint my chibi Egyptians first. Because I really like my Anubis and my Bast. There we go. And while I have my walnut, I can line around the outside of this bat or dragon wing insignia. Just to make sure I've got that shadow in there. There. That's great. And I darkened these little nubbins because they're probably going to be gold as well. So now I can highlight this shield. And I'm not going to do any underpainting for the first layer. I just want to bring it up. There's kind of a line down the center of the shield, so that's good to make kind of working up to a highlight. So using a little bit of white mixed into your red. Fire red has a tiny bit of white in it already. So it's fire red 9004, guys, can be a very nice beginning stage highlight for red. See how that brings up that angle there? So if I was gonna suggest non-metallic metal with this red, this would be the way to do it. So many minis, so little time. That's why I think I might work on Templar on my stream again this week. She's coming along. Now that I've got the metal looking more and more mapped in on the front, it inspires me to work on her more. But that'll be tomorrow afternoon. So I'm trying a new de-stressing technique, guys, and so far it's working really well. It's something I got from the Noom weight loss program. It was kind of weird because there wasn't an explicit lesson on it. It was just like one of the many ways it's tackling stress right now. But what it is I live by my to-do list, right? So, you know, my to-do list, like I would drop so many balls if it weren't for my to-do list. But the technique is to put your to-do list, like at the end of your workday, set up your to-do list for the next day, and then put it away. Like, put it away on a bookshelf, put it away out of sight. Don't leave your to-do list lying around. For years, I have always had my to-do list lying out, like, on the kitchen table. Like, always. Like, all day, all night, everywhere. And lo and behold, it really does make you more stressed out. I started putting it away in the evening this week, and I've just felt so much better. So if you're stressing out and like me, you have a to-do list from hell. Recommended. Seriously. If you have a tendency toward workaholic, which I do. I got a nice journal for my to-do list, and so I'm just using that. So that way I can close it and put it away at the end of the day. Haha. Yeah, it's a daily thing for me. Like, checking in with my to-do list is a daily thing for me, Quinty. So I'm unlikely to forget that it exists because I've been using it for so many years. But putting it in the journal and then just, you know, making myself just put it away and say, nope, we're not working on the to-do list anymore. Because I also tend to like multitask or want to multitask too much, and that's stressful too. So, like, I'm always thinking about 5 other things I should be doing when I'm doing a thing. And I am putting away the list is helping me not to do that. There we go. So that's a nice... See, we're keeping the shadow right here so that we emphasize kind of the shield has 2 dimensions going up and down. Adds a little bit more character to it. Just really layering up my my fire red heraldic red mixture. I'd say out of mind, but really out of mind. Yeah. Yeah, I also am able to trick myself with the out of sight, out of mind, but the to-do list is just something I don't think I would ever forget it existed. If I did, I would remember it when people complained that I didn't follow through on stuff I said I was going to follow through on. I also find it useful to just, as a catalog of ideas, right? To just like, hey, I thought of this great idea, I don't want to forget it. Because otherwise, I will totally forget it. But I used to just keep my to-do list on like a bunch of sticky notes. And then they were everywhere. So I was always thinking about stuff that I wasn't doing that I should be doing. And yeah, turns out that's a little stressful. So if you are looking for a de-stress tip, think about that. It may work for you. Alrighty. So we've got some nice kind of layers coming up here. Nice vibrant red back here. Yeah, that's sad. Although Impact, the problem is they've just got a huge catalog, right? So I bet their web designer is like overworked. Maybe their web designer is also like their 3D printer or something. Like small companies, everybody wears multiple hats. Reaper used to be like that. There, we got some, there we go, some nicer highlights. Snakes do tend to have dark eyes, don't they? And birds. So it depends on if you're going with nature or magic for a bird snake. Or if you need an accent color, because sometimes you can introduce an accent color with eyeballs. There, just a little bit of additional highlight. And this is how you highlight red with pink without it looking pink. And if I find that I've shifted a bit too much toward the pink here with my highlight, I just bring in a little bit more of my fire red plus heraldic to minimize the pink. Because if you don't want your red to look pink, but you want to highlight it like that, you just got to make the pink smaller. Pink smaller, red bigger. That's true. Snake eyes can be pretty. Maybe I was thinking of sharks. I think I was thinking of sharks. Sharks and snakes. Two things I don't really want to get close to. Look up pictures on the interwebs of snake eyes and bird eyes. And not all birds have dark eyes. Because, you know, raptors. So right, Shadow Raven on the damage dice. So just tuning these highlights to make them look more red and less pink. It can be hard on big flat surfaces, especially if you've got light, like there it is. So that's what it really looks like. What happens is you tend to, when you highlight red with white, it tends to look like a colder red. Whereas if you highlight it with orange and yellow, it tends to be warmer. So kind of ask yourself what you want to do with it. On a vampire, I certainly don't mind it being a colder red because, you know, she's undead. There we go. Mexico. Lord nobody. And maybe south too, but Central America for sure, because the Mayan civilization had the Quetzalcoatl. There we go. Just checking now that I've got this red, if there's anywhere else that I kind of need to use it. I want to do those touch-ups now. It's pretty good though. All the other red is pretty good at this point. Now, the next thing is the gold, probably. I might highlight these little bracers a little bit. Yeah, me too, Kariniko. Someone else does the hard work. And I can, you know, utilize my budget consciousness to resist on Etsy. I just have purchased a couple of them. 2 for the D&D game we were running on my personal stream, and then the Knoll bust that I got, the female Knoll. Really like her. There's a dragon on there that I would love, but I keep asking myself, and when are you going to find the time to paint a dragon, Missy? Yeah, it was less flexible than like stuff like HeroClix in the beginning, Lord. But it was still more flexible than the stuff we're doing now. But it took us a while. I mean, it's technology, right? Like, we're always tuning stuff. The nice thing about the softer bones material is that it's super easy to convert. The harder plastic you get, the harder it can get to work with. But in general, I like the Bones USA and the Bones Black quite a bit. However, the white bones material is inexpensive, so when you are doing a Learn to Paint kit, it makes sense to use it. And it enables us to put out a bunch of, like, you know, skeletons and orcs and goblins that are really inexpensive. Which is the nice thing about it. Alright, I think we're good, guys. I think I have 10 minutes. Yes, it is hard to accidentally damage. Yeah, the Bones USA material is different. Alrighty. Well, what'll I do? I guess for the last 10 minutes we'll fill in our gold, because I think these two little catches down here are going to be the gold. I want to fill in the rim of the shield and these little balls. I want to fill in the sword a bit. The other thing I could do is consider doing a pattern. I don't know that I want one, though. Because we've got all this other stuff on here. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a model with a big shield that I can paint stuff on. I think I actually have one of the old Werner Heraldic Knights that Reaper does. I think I got him as a freebie in my last Reaper order. And he's got those knights are great for doing freehand heraldic designs on. So maybe we'll do him for one of these upcomings, even though he's an oldie moldy. He's an oldie goodie moldy. There's a lot of places that have options for getting STL files printed. So really just, you know, if you Google it and then look at reviews. Make sure you look at the reviews. Make sure that the place has a good rep, or maybe ask on the Reaper Discord would be another good thing. We don't need to put a link in chat. Just go over to the Reaper Discord, and I'm sure... Do we have a 3D printing channel in the Reaper Discord, guys? Or do we not have that sort of thing? Maybe for off-topic, if it's not... if there's an off-topic thing. Oh, sculpting? Okay. Thanks, Rupert John. So yeah, so if you wanna ask about a place to get STL files printed, go over in sculpting and ask. Feel free to ask, guys, rather than putting stuff in the chat here. Okay, cool. That's either good or bad, Shadowspawn. It's either good because you're not burying yourself in figures and STLs, or it's bad because you bought a resin printer and then you aren't using it. Okay, so let's just get some color on here so that we can add more gold. This sword has a lot of little bits coming off of it. I need to decide whether they're steel or bronze/gold. I think I'm gonna go with all gold for any decorative elements that aren't a straight blade. So all of that. I'm putting the paint on pretty thick here. For bones, I like to get a nice solid coat, and you know, since I don't prime my bones, I want my first coat to stick pretty well and be pretty solid. So I do tend to put it on, and I tend to dab it on, as you can see, rather than brushing it on over the surface. I tend to kind of glob it and dab it and leave it thick on the surface. If you don't prime your bones, that's a good technique for you. If you do prime your bones, you can paint them just like anything else. Oh, I see, Shadowspawn. You wanted a terrain printer, not a resin printer. Got it. There. And then let's go and let's touch up this shoulder pad a little bit. Once again, once we've got our color mixed up again, we can see two areas that we maybe didn't get a real solid coat on the first time, and now we want to kind of go over that. Make sure these areas are well prepared, or things like the edges of the shield here that might have gotten a little bit painted over when we were doing our touch-ups here. Yeah, I like the Herstart stuff, and I did it for a while, but it's so heavy. Like, it makes sense if you're just doing it at home and you're going to run your game at home, but if you, like, need to travel, it's so heavy. That's my only problem with it. You can build such awesome stuff out of it. It's so much fun. I just wish plaster was lighter weight. There we go. We've got our gold parts mapped in. And then next time we can play with our NMMs. Actually, at this point, I'm not locked in. So if I wanted to do metallics on this figure, I could. The downside is that it's hard to do fine detail with metallics. But there's nothing on this model, because chibis tend to be big and clunky. There's nothing on this model that would probably suffer from doing metallics. So we could certainly do metallics on her. We haven't done any other metal, and the armor could just be, you know, red. So we could do gold metallics on her. NMM might look a little better. But we could certainly do gold metallics. We'll have to see. We'll see how we feel next time. There we go. Do a little touch up where I had a little bit of rub off up there. Or if something got a little bit painted over, now is your time to touch it up before you start working with these areas. So she's coming along, guys. She's coming along. We still have to do her her black. She's got her little skirt in the back as well. I can see a couple of buttons back there that I'll do a little bit. I'll just hit with a little bit of gold just to remind myself that they exist back there. The bigger model also has those. So that's okay. Yeah, so we could do either. We could do the NMM gold. I might do it. I might feel like it. She's getting there. Need to finish her hair too. We really only did the crown of the head. We need to do the back. But yeah, she's coming along. She's definitely coming along. But yeah, I'm happy with her face now. And now David can stop bugging me. So what we did today is we retouched up the face. We refined it. We corrected some shadows that were making her look older or not as human. Did some reblends. Did some like additional work on the hands and the chest to, you know, just kind of fine tune the skin tones, make them a little bit better. We worked on the red on the shield. And essentially started framing all of the golds so that we could get to it next time. Talked a lot about eyes, painted in her eyes, and talked a lot about tricks for doing big eyes and for gently mapping them in so that you can get them looking in the correct direction. And yeah, tomorrow is Wyvern Day. Wyvern Day. Yeah, great, really great and alive, or undead. Unalive. Yes, right, exactly. But you see how the greenish skin tones play really well with the red. Like, it gives you that complementary element. And if you wanted to go with more of a just pale skin tone for the skin, you could always highlight the black with kind of a greenish color. That's another way you could introduce those kind of green tones to set off red armor. But yeah, I really liked using that green kind of sub-shadow on the skin because I really feel it plays really well off the red, and it makes the skin go and look really luminous, which I love. Really, really enjoy that on vampires. I really need to get myself a vampire bust at some point just to do the skin tone like to the max, like to the highest level I can do it. That would be super fun. Thanks, Graniko. We will see you then. Yes, yes. I'm sorry that you won't make it the next couple days. Your cats are going to be so sad not to have Anne voice. I still think it's creepy how she can look all sorts of different directions. She's like, my eyes are huge and they look everywhere. So, tomorrow's Wyvern Day, and I think it's going to be Wing Day. it's kind of like leg day, only it's wing day. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll put tiger stripes on the wings and see how we can do it. The shading is actually purple, Dogfather. The base of this skin tone is an olive green, a pale olive green. And then this is just this is my Wacky vampire skin tone that I developed ages ago and still use. So the colors in it are, although it was before Drow Nipple Pink was a thing, but the shadow is Drow Nipple Pink. The mid-tone is this and this, so it's actually the olive, what would be pale olive. I mix it out of troll flesh these days, though, troll hide, because I don't have pale olive up on my thing. But 9036 would be pale olive. That's a color I traditionally used with it, but instead these days I'm using about a 4-to-1 white to troll hide to create that pale olive. Then this is Rosy Skin with a bit of white in it to bring it up a little higher, so I can use it as a highlight for the green, and then white. Oh, we talked about this like several streams ago, and also I mentioned it at the start of the stream, so don't worry about it, Dogfather. Yeah, pale olive. There we go, Quindy. Yeah, like if I had pale olive, I would use it. Like this is me just mixing pale olive out of an available color. But pale olive is a very underrated color. I use it for this a lot. I do like it very much for undead. I like it for orcs too. If you want really quick orc skin tones and you're going green, doing pale olive with a wash of muddy olive is a good way to just kind of nail a less bright Christmas green orky skin tone. Yeah, it's kind of like leg day, but wings. We're gonna do wings. Wings tomorrow, I think. Unless I like really freaked out. Yeah, well, it's worth going back and looking because the skin tones are very odd, Dogfather, since they're so weird, since I'm using like 3 different colors to shade and highlight each other. It, you know, I would think it's worth watching if you go back and look for her name and number are here. She is a traditional bones model. Small world, Monique. All right, guys, that's pretty cool. So thank you all for watching. And as usual, thank you just for hanging out and talking with me. Oh, your housemate puts on streams for them. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. All right, Reaper, who are we raiding today? Who's our lucky raid target? Who are we targeting? Pew, pew, pew. Oh, I'm not familiar. Melancholy. I am not familiar. Melancholy, probably. So I hope you all have fun. Whoever this person is, give them a warm Reaper welcome. And I will be back tomorrow morning. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.